My name is Iris Higgins, and I'm a certified hypnotherapist. And I've been practicing for the past 10 years, ever since I got certified by Lee LaBay. And I took her course called Integrative Hypnotherapy and Past Life Regression. This is a professional certification course, and it's now offered completely as an online course. So Mary Lee is here with us today. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's a delight to be here with you, Iris.
Thank you. So Mary Lee is a certified clinical hypnotherapist. She's a past life regressionist and a spiritual coach, and she has over 30 years of experience. And she's also just honestly one of the best teachers that I've ever worked with. Her classes are super organized.
Thank you.
And super well taught. You really yeah. I've been doing this ever since. So you know that you're making a huge difference for a lot of people.
Thank you. That's important to me.
I'm just going to read your little bio. Actually, my bio that I wrote. Mary Lee has a doctorate in behavioral psychology and certifications in neurolinguistic programming, Reiki, Gestalt, EFT or tapping, remote viewing, spiritual counseling, and applied kinesiology, which tells you she is extremely qualified. And she is also the author of a number of books, including Exploring Past Lives, Your Soul's Quest for Consciousness, and a number of online courses, not just her professional certification courses, but also really fun sounding courses like interpretive astrology for coaches, counselors, and lovers. And I'm going to include links below to all of her courses and books and her YouTube channel, anything. So if you're interested in learning more, you can definitely check below. But she's going to be talking to us today about how your past lives might be holding you back. So if you're feeling really stuck in your life or feeling like you're just not sure of your purpose, she is going to be giving us some tips and ideas. And then she's going to lead us through an experience, a group guided past life regression. And then if anyone has questions, then you can put them in the chat and hopefully I'll be able to see them. I've never done this before. So Mary Lee, let's just start with the topic of the call, which is how might your past lives be holding you back in your current lifetime?
Mm-hmm. So our past life, we think of past lives as some other separate being. You know, I had this other lifetime, like it's separate from ourselves, but in fact, it is a part of all of us. And so these, any kind of experiences that we've had in other lifetimes, such as traumas or insecurities, things that have dampened our soul in some way, are going to, all these events and experiences are going to play subconsciously on ourselves. And so this is where we might get self-sabotage, addictions, irrational fears, phobias, things like that will show up in this lifetime. It's also how we get attracted to the wrong person. I mean, it can be that we get attracted to the right person also, but sometimes we meet people and we can feel the energy and we know there's a connection and we convince ourselves that, you know, this person, you know, there must be a reason. And, you know, so I need to get in a relationship with them. But without knowing the past life history in that relationship, we don't know, you know, maybe we have forgotten that this person is a very evil character or a sabotaging character, or that there's, you know, a lot of negative energy that has to be worked out, not necessarily the best person for a partnership in this lifetime. So, you know, without having that past life awareness, it's hard for us to really navigate some of the challenges that we come across in this lifetime. And it's not all bad stuff that we're going to find in past lives. We can also go in and find our purpose, you know, understand what that main river of purpose is that we need to get on and be flowing with. We can look at our talents. Maybe we have artistic talents or healing talents or math or whatever kinds of talents. And we can go into past lives and actually bring a lot of that innate character as well as the experiences of practicing that and bring it into this lifetime to enhance what we're doing now.
That's really interesting. So when you're working with someone, and let's say they want to understand more of their purpose in this lifetime, and you go back to a previous lifetime where they, did something that they don't really have any knowledge of in this lifetime, are you able to help them bring that actual knowledge back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So typically, well, let's answer the question you posed. So when we go back into a past life, we go in not just to view it as the third person, but we go into the lifetime and you're experiencing it from the perspective of that person. So let's say you're, in that lifetime, you're a healer, a witch doctor, a natural, a person that works with nature to do healing work. And you go in and you're actually doing that. We can have patients come, people that from the community that come to you for healing. We can actually have you working through a session with that patient. So you in a past life are actually doing your healing work. And so you're embodying that knowledge and that understanding of how to work the energy or the plants or the chemicals or elixirs or whatever it is that you're doing. So having that personal experience here through the eyes and the experience of who you were in that other lifetime will naturally bring that knowledge now to you here. You're just recalling it. It's not like it's foreign to you. You're just opening up the channels to the memories of what you already know and have experienced. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. So I remember actually, this was something you said to us in class, which was 10 years ago, but I remember you saying that like when you go back to a past life, the way that you experience it might represent kind of how you experience things in life. So if you go back and you're kind of watching yourself, then maybe you're someone who tends to be sort of on the sidelines of your life and is kind of watching your life more than being present in it.
Right.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Well, it's what we call associated or dissociated. And so, people who are just really engaged in all of their feelings and engaged in the energy and the experience would be considered first person. And then sometimes due to trauma, as a coping mechanism, we might dissociate somewhat because we don't want to feel the hurt. We don't want to feel the loss and the grief. We don't want to feel the physical pain. So there's a lot of reasons why people might separate back a little bit. And what clients say to me is maybe they feel numb, or they feel like they're wrapped in cotton, or they don't really connect with people, or they don't really connect to a situation. And so that would be a lot more of the third person. But in the sessions, whether it's hypnotherapy or if we're noticing it in a past life, we can find ways. First of all, we would want to understand why that's happening. Why is it that you feel the need to step away a bit? And then we can work on that. We can heal that part of the consciousness or the personality, wherever that's lodged. And a lot of times it's just having a different perspective about pain and suffering, instead of thinking of it as something to separate yourself from, to become, being able to embrace it a little more and allow yourself to have those feelings, and work through them. A lot of times it's about learning the lesson from them, right? So if I get in a relationship, a romantic relationship, and it ends badly, if I dissociate myself from the feelings and I just go, okay, never mind, I'm not going to feel that. Well, then maybe I haven't learned what I need to learn. And so then I get into the next relationship and I do the same thing. And then, I'm, over time, over several relationships, I may find that now I've developed trust issues. I can't trust anybody. Well, really, they're going to be who they are. What I really can't trust, if I'm honest, is myself, because I won't allow myself to feel it, and therefore I don't learn fully and then avoid it in a healthy way by making a different choice in partners, right? So, yeah. So, anyway, so the idea is to help people to come back to that engagement with life. And the reason isn't just, okay, so you can feel all the pain and grief. The reason is because if you're not engaged in life, you're not going to be able to expand your consciousness. You're not going to be able to remember your past lives, even your memories. A lot of your choices will be skewed. For instance, if you can't smell anything, then you might not smell the fire that's going on in the room next to you, right? And so the same thing is, if you can't have those feelings, you're missing out on all the good feelings, but you're also numbing yourself to the signals of feelings that you need in order to avoid negative situations.
Yeah, I see that so much. And I talk with my clients sometimes about sadness and grief and all those things being just the other side of the coin, that you can't really have one without having the other.
Absolutely.
But yeah, definitely. I think a lot of the clients that come to me have that experience of being afraid of the fall, almost, is the feeling like, well, I can't let myself really be happy and excited and present in my life because the fall is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of it is just like learning to be present with whatever is and accepting.
Right. And okay with it not feeling good when that happens, right?
Right. Yeah. So when someone comes to you, I imagine that you get a lot of past life regression, people who come wanting to do that. But for someone who's just coming for hypnotherapy, maybe for smoking or something else, how do you decide when to go into past life work, or does it just happen?
So yeah, it just kind of happens. So depending on the topic, when we start to go into the session, as you know, it's all done in dialogue. And so I'm watching and listening, I'm paying attention to the cues that they're giving me through the language as we start the session. So, if they're coming for something else, if they're coming for past lives, obviously we're going to go there. But if they're coming for something else, then a lot of times we don't go into past lives. We're going to do the healing through the hypnotherapy. But to do a lot of the deeper work, we're going to also need to incorporate some past lives there. For instance, addictions, like say a person wants to come and they are addicted to alcohol, for instance, they're an alcoholic. We have to access past lives for that, because all of our lifetimes are already connected. And if you have alcoholism in this lifetime, you're going to find a lot of other lifetimes, not all of your lifetimes, but you're going to have a sprinkling of lifetimes where there's addiction issues. In fact, there could be a lot with addictions, but there could be a sprinkling then with alcohol, right? And that being the go-to coping mechanism for stress, or whatever's happening in their life. So if we try to work on getting them to stop drinking in this lifetime, but we haven't addressed all these other lifetimes, those lifetimes are still influencing that person. And so we're just fighting this tsunami of habit, of knee-jerk reaction or whatever. So when I'm working with somebody with an addiction like that, we're going to go into past lives fairly quickly and start looking at how did this develop in all these other lifetimes. And once we've done that, and we actually do the healing work in those lifetimes, so that the past life character makes a different choice, or they overcome it, or they resolve their grief or pain or sadness, and we make that resolution in each of those lifetimes, then we come back and we work on this lifetime. And it's really easy because there's nothing that's anchoring them back into it. Now it may be it may still take a month or two or some weeks or whatever, but it'll be a very simple process. It's not like they have to declare themselves sober for the rest of their lives or fight against that urge to drink. It's just a non-question anymore. That's where I would like to see my clients get to, but it is going to involve going into those past lives.
Yeah. So, I've seen some hypnotherapists say that they never do any sort of regression. They just focus on the future. And I know that you've developed your own method over the years, which is a very client-centered method. So can you tell me a little bit about how that differs from how you were originally trained or what you see some other people doing?
So I was originally trained primarily to use scripts. So you'd put the person into trance, and then you tell them a story, a metaphor, give them some suggestions, and bring them out. And it was pretty nerve-wracking because then you're like, well, I hope it worked. I hope that was the right story. I hope I didn't do any damage, that sort of thing. And I had also been trained in some NLP techniques, and I started doing more research and realizing that if I did, it's more Ericksonian or client-centered, where the entire session is in dialogue. So the person is engaged in the process, and they're still in a trance. Excuse me, they're still in a trance, but they're connected to their subconscious mind, so they can still have those downloads of information, and we can still make the changes that are anchored in their subconscious mind. And so over time, I was just morphing all these techniques into the process that I now teach, which is really, there's similarities to the way other people teach or how they practice, but excuse me, but it is a very unique approach. And then, of course, I had a huge background in past life regression. Even before I got certified in hypnotherapy, I'd already been providing past lives for people. And so then I was able to marry those two in a very unique way. And I know nobody's teaching that unless they've taken my training and now they're teaching from that, right? It's just very, very powerful. And so in the training that I give, I take my 30 years of expertise and all the research and all the courses and everything, all my, personal experiences, professional experiences, and I bundle that together so that my students don't have to go out and do that whole process like I had to do. I just hand you all that wisdom and skills and knowledge in all together as a package.
Yeah. And you have a script book so that, you know, which I still have today. Like I used that for a long time in the beginning to help remind me like, okay, how does the induction go? And like,
Right.
eventually I came up with my own, but I still have, let's see if I have it right here. This is your first page.
Oh, yeah.
And I just keep that with my client files because if I get stuck, I just go and look at it and I'm like, what do I do here? Okay, the answer.
Right.
Super useful.
All of that, even though it's online now, I give all those materials and then the students can print the script book. And just to clarify this, like you were saying, over time, we get off the scripts, but I provide the script book so that in the beginning, when you're practicing or when you're first starting out, you can go back and have that easy access of, I need to figure out self-sabotage. What do I need to do? Secondary gains. How did that go? Okay. And you can go back and you can say, okay, that's how it goes. And then you can deliver that to your client. But usually within about a month or so, even weeks, but a month or two, the students are off of the script books. Instead of that being the focus that we're always going to use scripts, it's more that, okay, these are the training wheels and this is the reference to go back, if you feel like you need more resources. But really the sessions are very client-centered, very organic and flowing. It's not a set pattern.
Yeah, absolutely. So for people who are watching and are very new to past life work, maybe they've never done anything, other than going to a hypnotist or past life regressionist, is there anything that you would recommend that they start doing just to learn more?
About past lives?
Yeah.
Well, of course, they can buy my book at my Soul's Quest for Consciousness, Past Life, or Exploring Past Lives, the Soul's Quest for Consciousness. That's a good reference, and it gives a real good overview of the topic. If we're doing them, in an ideal situation, a human would just automatically remember their past lives. That would be ideal. We should be able to see a location and say, oh, I remember that lifetime, and I remember doing this and remembering it just like you would this lifetime. Or, I meet Iris and I go, I remember, all these adventures we've had together, right? But, over time through different, experiences, through, being born and dying and all of that, we have cut off those memories. So one way is to go into a meditation. And if you have a feeling like, oh, I've been somewhere, like, oh, I remember being a Southern belle, or I remember the Wild West, or I remember medieval England, or the Russian War, or, Africa. I remember, the jungles of Africa. And believe me, we have all experienced all of that. We've had millions of lifetimes, tons of lifetimes, maybe not all on this planet, but we've had all these lifetimes. So you could just pick one that you feel connected to, or I think I died by drowning, or I think that, I have this relationship with my mother, or whatever, and start there. So in your meditation, just kind of put yourself into that state of mind. Like, here I am, I'm a cowboy in the West, and I'm riding a horse and it's very dry and dusty. And then just kind of let it go and just see what happens. Like you're watching a movie that you've never seen before. And that initial thought of it, like I'm a cowboy riding a horse, may dissipate. And maybe suddenly I think, oh, I wasn't a man, I was a woman, or some other things may develop over time as you get more into the actual memory of it. But that's one way to do it on yourself. The other way would be to do it with a recorded guided visualization. And I used to offer one on my website. I don't know, it might still be there, but if you sign up for my newsletter, you do get a guided visualization, but I don't know if it's still the past life regression. If anybody here, if you want to email me, I'll give you a link and make sure you get a guided visualization. What other ways? What I do recommend is that you do not go to a psychic reader to get your past life reading done, right? Because that's not that useful. First of all, it's somebody else's opinion, right? So they're going to interpret what they see, even if it's accurate at all, right? So, I mean, I know Iris, but imagine if I was talking to another person and I said, oh, I know Iris, here's what she's all about, right? And then Iris says, yeah, but not quite. It's not, you're a little off there. You missed that, or I've changed since then. And so the person giving you the reading may not have that internal experience, but the more important part about it is the whole purpose of remembering past lives is to exercise that muscle, because the more lifetimes that you experience, the more you are expanding your ability to remember. So if in this lifetime you remember 10 lifetimes, your consciousness is changing. And if you're changing your consciousness here, you're affecting all your other lifetimes, past and future, so that they are remembering better too. So, I mean, just like our past lives influence us, we're influencing past lives and future lives as well. So if somebody else is giving you that information, it's just intellectual information. It's not a memory and it's not an experience. So as you experience it for yourself, that's when you're going to gather the wisdom, the experiences, the knowledge, and the emotions of it, be able to make some changes if you need to, have the self-recognition. But another aspect of that is the more lifetimes we connect to, if you think of it, I'm here and then I have all these lifetimes, and the more I connect, the more actual energy I have to use, because now there's more of us connected, and it creates more density in the energetic field. So my aura gets more dense. So that makes me more stable, more grounded, more connected, more empowered, less able to be swayed by things. So when disasters or pandemics happen, there's less of that reactionary issue, because first of all, I can remember diseases and traumas from other lifetimes and how I've overcome them. So already I'm more empowered, but also I just have more density in the energy field. And so I'm not as easily pushed around by the energies that are floating out there.
Like having more spiritual muscles.
Exactly. So, if the goal is enlightenment or, spiritual development, personal development, then you do need to be doing the regressions for yourself. It's like saying, I want to be in really good shape, but Iris, would you go to the gym for me? And then come back and tell me what it was like, and I'll feel better.
Right.
Right.
Okay. So going into this group experience now, other than having people, lie down or get really comfortable, is there any advice you have for them to help them to have the best experience?
Yeah. So you can lay down, but if you think you might fall asleep, you might want to sit up and it won't take that long. So if you sit up in a meditative state, it might be a good idea, but you can lay down. So when we do regressions, sometimes people are very visual. That's ideal, of course, but some people are less visual. And so they might be auditory, where they're hearing things, or more kinesthetic, where they're feeling things. And so as we go into this, if you're not, seeing the movie happening, then check in with yourself as to how you're feeling. Do I feel excited about something? Do I feel afraid of something? Do I feel, tired or sad or whatever? And then try to develop the story around that. We're going to be going into a nice trance state. Just allow it to happen. Don't, any resistances, it's just okay. Whatever happens, happens. You're in control. You're not going to lose control. You're just going to go into this guided state. And so just allowing it to happen. And we'll go to a hallway and we'll choose a door. And when you open the door, you're going to go through and have the past life. So when that happens, if you don't, a lot of times that's where people get stuck. And there's like, oh, I don't see anything, because it's like, okay, I went from make-believe into I have to be correct. So don't worry about being right or wrong. It would be more important just to kind of make something up than to not have any experience at all. So, okay, I'm a cowboy and I'm riding in the West and, whatever, and just develop the story. But you'll see that even if you're developing a make-believe story over time, you're going to feel it shift into drawing up memories instead of just making it up. And it may shift a little bit as you shift into memories. So it would be better to just go with it than to hold yourself back. I think that's most of it. We'll probably only take about 20 minutes or maybe a little less. And so it won't be a long experience. And I have to be very generic because I don't know where everybody is in the process. And so if you're getting a lot of visuals and you're just going, just keep going, just ignore me. But I'm going to be asking a few questions along the way just to keep people going or thinking about different things. So if you need my help, then I'll be just giving some generic questions. Can you think of anything else, Iris, that I need to add to that?
No, I think you said everything. So yeah, we'll just go into the experience now. I'm gonna do it too.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Definitely have some fun with us.
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody get comfortable. And when you're ready, just close your eyes. And let's take a nice deep breath, just taking in nice oxygen, letting it circulate around your body and just letting it go. And taking in another deep breath. And this time exhaling all the busyness of the day, any stress, expectations, analysis, self-doubt, disbelief. Just let it all go and allow your mind to be like a clear blue sky. And just relaxing deeper as you relax your toes and your feet, your ankles and calves, your knees and your thighs. Relaxing your legs, allowing them to support you, but releasing any unnecessary tension. Relaxing your stomach and your chest and your breathing. Allowing your breath to find its own natural pace. Relaxing your back and your shoulders, your arms, your hands, and your fingers. Just relaxing, letting go. And imagine for a moment that you have a ball of light at your feet, glistening and shining and radiating. And as that ball of light begins to move up along your body, it gathers up the perceptions and the sensations, leaving behind a completely relaxed body. as it moves up along your legs and now across your torso, balancing your energies, opening your chakras, that ball of light coming up and moving across your throat, opening the throat, and now right up into the center of your forehead, into the third eye, energizing the third eye, allowing it to open and expand, the energy flowing through, connecting your conscious mind to your unconscious mind. That energy channel expanding, flowing, and continuing to do that throughout this session. And so I invite you to imagine being in your favorite safe space, a place of relaxation, protection, and connection. And it may be a place that you have visited in this lifetime, or a place that you go to in your imagination that allows you to be free to be yourself. And as you find yourself in that safe space now, just taking a look around, exploring with the curiosity of a child, and noticing what it feels like to be there. And as you explore this space, you realize that there is a gift that has been left there for you. A gift, so sorry. A gift that is an object that will bring you certain traits and characteristics that will be so valuable for you at this time in your life, and valuable as we move through this experience today. And so finding this gift, this object, and taking it into your hands. And notice the texture and the weight of it. Notice what this object is. And as you hold this object, how does it affect you? Whether it's physically, emotionally, mentally, energetically, what shifts or changes inside of you with this magical tool or this special gift? And if this gift was like a Harry Potter magical tool, how might you use this in your life? And so holding this gift and getting comfortable for a meditation there in your safe space, meditating deeper and deeper throughout this session, you begin to imagine a hallway stretching out in front of you. And this hallway can look like anything you choose. And as you begin to move down along this hall, you notice that there are doorways, each one leading to memories, past lives, experiences that will be so valuable for you at this time in your life. And as I count from 3 to 1, allowing yourself to be in front of one of those doors, 3, 2, 1. And just noticing what this door looks like and feels like. And then you notice that the door begins to open. And as you step through, do you find yourself going indoors or outdoors? And if you're not really sure, just pick one. It'll all sort out. And so begin to explore this environment with the curiosity of a child. What can you learn about this place? What's happening here? And what are you doing in this environment? And are you alone or with others? And moving ahead a little bit of time, maybe just an hour or two. And what has been happening there? And what role do you play in this event? And moving ahead in time to when you sleep that night. And where do you sleep that night? And what do you know about that location? And are you there alone or with others? And when you get up in the morning or when you get up the next day, what are you setting out to do? What are you going to go do today? And then what do you notice next? And are you a male or a female? And what do you know of your family or your community? And moving ahead to the next notable experience, what happens next? And as I count from 3 to 1, you'll know where in the world this lifetime takes place. 3, 2, 1. Where are you in that lifetime? And as I count from 3 to 1, you'll know the approximate year of that lifetime. 3, 2, 1. And moving ahead to the next notable experience. What is your occupation in that lifetime? And what are your passions, your hobbies, your interests in that lifetime? And do you marry or have a significant relationship? And do you have children? And if so, how many? And moving ahead to the next notable experience. What is happening in that lifetime? And moving up towards the end of that lifetime, how old are you? How old do you live to be? And looking back over that lifetime, what were your lessons? What did you learn, or what were you supposed to learn? And what were your achievements? And allow yourself to just release from that body. Allow the body to fade away. And how will you use this experience, this knowledge of that past life? How will it impress you in this lifetime? How will it change you? What difference will it make in your life? And so remembering all that you've experienced in this session and allowing the subconscious mind to continue to bring you insight, wisdom, and understanding in the days and weeks to come. As I count from 1 to 5, returning here to the present moment, refreshed, alert, and aware. 1, 2, 3, coming up. 4, aware of this time and space. And 5, fully alert and aware, and returned here to the present moment.
Okay. That was lovely. Thank you, Mary Lee.
You're welcome. I know it's hard to condense it all down in a little bit of time, but I think that gave people a taste of what it's like to go into the trance state, transitioning. And then hopefully people got some past life memories too. It's hard to tell when we can't get feedback, but did you have any questions that showed up on, or if people want to post in the chat?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, or if you wanted to share like what lesson you were supposed to learn or something that came up during that session, we would love to hear, or would love to hear if you have any questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Were you able to? Oh, go ahead. You have a question? I was going to say, did you get something yourself, Iris?
Yeah, the lesson that came up for me, I've gone to this lifetime before, but it was to just really be present in the moment and be joyful and happy no matter what happens. So just going back to that idea of like, grief and sorrow and all these things are part of life, but to stay really present.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah.
The thing for all of us to remember that I like to use is another woman that I worked with. And in this lifetime, she had a business with herbs, like herbal teas and tinctures and essential oils, that sort of thing. She's retired now, but her whole life was all about herbs and how you use them in healing. And she went into a lifetime where she was in this like a jungle type thing, just really lush environment. But she also worked with the plants. But there in that lifetime, she was able to really psychically communicate with the plants. She said, I can just look around the environment and there are plants that are saying, I'm ready, and this is what I would be useful for. And knowing which part of the plant to use. But it was just like completely psychic communication with the plant life. And in that case, we were able to bring, she's very intuitive, but we were able to bring that knowledge and that ability to do that into this lifetime. And it turns out, she had a really big garden herself in this lifetime. And we're friends. So even years later, I asked her, I said, that lifetime we went to, can you still do that? And she said, absolutely. By going into that past life, we were able to just turn that switch on. And she said, now I can still have that relationship with my plants. So those are some examples. They're kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. That's really interesting. Before we close out, do you have anything else you want to share?
We could talk just a couple minutes about the training in case anybody's interested in learning how to do this. So it is a full training that teaches you all the past life stuff, all of the hypnotherapy, all these techniques and concepts to absolutely start a brand new business, or to take your existing holistic healing or coaching and combine it. So I train a lot of people, everything from medical to naturopathy, acupuncturists, massage therapists, coaches, business and personal coaches, psychic, healers, Reiki healer, people from all walks of life, mothers, policemen, all walks of life. to do this, and whether they're going to start up a business or combine them. So I think you've given the link, and people can click on that link and see everything that they're going to be learning. The one thing I want to mention is that there's 21 hours of Zoom support calls that go when you buy the program. You can repeat the calls as often as you want. So a lot of people come and do them more than once because it deepens their understanding and their knowledge and skills. But the next round of calls starts June 6th. So it's coming up right away. So if people are interested, you'd need to book a registration call with me, because you can look at it online. But in order to register, I interview each of the people, and we talk a little bit about how that's going to work in their life to make sure it's a good fit. And then I give you the link to actually register for the course. So we'd want to do that pretty soon, because you need to study a few of the modules before the first phone call on June 6th. Or
Yeah.
It's advisable to have studied it, because it'll make more sense when we're on the call, the kinds of things that we'll be talking about.
And for people who are watching the replay, it's May 20th, 2022. So you might be watching this, honestly, years from now,
Right.
because it's just going to be on YouTube. But I know that the website, when you are looking at the details of the course, you can check the calendar and it will show you when there are upcoming group calls.
That's true. And I usually have the calls repeating every couple of months. So there's always going to be one in the works.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for that experience. It was really fun for me, and I'm sure the people watching also got to have a little fun past life experience as well.
Good. I hope so. And it was a pleasure for me to be here. I always enjoy talking with you, and I'm happy to do this presentation. So thank you.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.